Hello. So I just had the chance to speak to a group of moms with young children about self-care. And I feel like the principles that were shared, it doesn't just apply to mom, it's across the board. So I just wanted to share it with you. Now I have to say that this was via Zoom, so my head was a little bit slanted. So I am not looking necessarily directly into the camera that I was recording with because I was having some issues with the setup. But even if the setup isn't perfect, I hope that you are still able to gain something from just what was shared. All right, enjoy. Here you go. So just practically speaking, what is self-care? And it just refers to like actions and just attitudes and different things that we do to take care of ourselves, right? Whether it's our physical health, our emotional, our spiritual well-being. It's just things that we do to just really feed ourselves so that we can be the best version, right, of ourselves. Now, there are other fancy definitions out there, but that's as simple as it gets. All right. So now that we know what self-care is, why is self-care even important? Why are we even having this discussion? Well, the truth is that if you burn out and if you don't take care of yourself, you're no good for anyone else and those that you are supposed to take care of. So I think one of the biggest things as mothers that we need to recognize is that self-care is not selfish, right? It's so easy for us to think about all that we have to do and all the things that we have to tend to, that it's easy for us to think, man, if I stop and take care of me, that somehow that's selfish. So self-care is not being selfish at all, and it should not be seen as something that's a luxury. It should be seen as something that's a necessity. All right, so now that we know what self-care is, why it's important, what are some practical ways that we can actually administer self-care? Okay, so we can hear a talk like this and think and almost be overwhelmed and feel like, okay, I have to go out and do these major things, right, in the name of self-care. But it's important when it comes to self-care to recognize you can start off small, because it's amazing how little actions can produce big results. Okay, so as it pertains to the physical aspect of self-care, it's important for us to not neglect physical activity. And it's so easy to make excuses and say, hey, I have young ones, or I don't have a gym membership, so I can't really work out. Okay, so today we're just gonna demolish all those excuses. You don't need a gym membership. You have outdoors. So just even going outside for a walk, right? If you don't have a treadmill at home, that's okay. You have the outdoors. So if it's, again, just starting small, saying, you know what, every day I'm just gonna get outside for 15 minutes and I'm just going to walk. I'm gonna put those babies in the stroller and we're all going to go outside for a walk. Or when you take the children to the park, as opposed to sitting and watching them play, maybe getting up and interacting with them, right? And moving. There's something that happens actually in our body. They're called the happy hormones. Endorphins are released when you get to moving, and that's self-care. And let's not forget about just the importance of getting outdoors and getting vitamin D, which can impact your mood, just everything across the board. It's just so helpful. Again, this is a part of self-care. So the other thing that is very important is what we put in our mouth. And it's so funny because sometimes I'll hear people say, I'm going to treat myself to all the junk in the world in the name of self-care. That's not actually self-care, that's self-destruction. So let's remember that what we put in our mouths, it really affects our bodies, our physical, what we're able to do, our moods. So if I'm trying to be the best version of myself, which really is what self-care is about, I have to pause and consider what I'm putting into my mouth. So when we're talking about self-care, instead of having that cookie and that ice cream because you've just been stressed and it's been just such a busy day, instead of saying, I'm going to eat all of this sugar that's going to take me high and then leave me just feeling low, a short time afterwards, maybe it's time to consider having a healthier option because that's taking care of myself. Now, I know when we talk about exercise and what we eat, we see that more as work as opposed to self-care. But understand that just because something is hard doesn't mean that it's not good for you. So sometimes it's about just getting into that routine and that habit and not straying away from doing the right thing because it's hard. Yeah. So self-care is not about indulging in what is not good for you in the name of relaxation, but it's about doing what is necessary to keep you operating as the best you. So another thing that I know that us moms can be guilty of is we're good about keeping everyone's medical appointments, their dental appointments, and then when it comes to us, we just kind of throw that to the wayside. We're not keeping up with our yearly visits to the doctor. We're not going to the dentist as we should. Again, if I'm not tending to myself, I'm going to fall apart and then I can't tend to the ones that I love. So keep your doctor's appointments, keep your dental appointments. It's needful. Just practical things like that are helpful. The other thing, which is a big one, is make time to rest. And I know that this can be a tricky one when it comes to tending to young children. But I think if we're honest and look at our days, we can see how sometimes we miss out on the opportunities that we have to just rest. And sometimes that may mean, hey, I'm not going to get on social media today. I just need to replenish myself. So I'm just going to turn off the noise and just sit in silence. And that's okay. It's so important to just make time for quiet meditation. And I just have to come back to this phone thing because when we're talking about self-care, I think when we're constantly being bombarded with things, we can be so scattered and all over the place. So I encourage you in the name of self-care to not go to bed with the phone in front of you because that can impact the quality of sleep. And then don't wake up and let the phone be the first thing that you have. Have moments of just quiet meditation. And then another one, which is very personal for me, which I feel feeds into our emotional self-care. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed with all that we have to do and all that's going on around us, that it's easy to focus on the negative things. But a part of self-care for me personally is to stay in a mindset of gratitude. So I start off my mornings thinking about all that is right instead of all that is wrong. That helps to put me in the right frame of mind. So it could just be as simple as when you wake up, just think of at least 3 things that you should be thankful for, as opposed to, oh, I got to do this today. I'm so stressed. I'm so overwhelmed. And you're just frazzled. Maybe just starting off the morning and just saying, hey, these are 3 things that I'm thankful for. And it really helps to put you in the right frame of mind. Now, this is a huge part because I think when we talk about self-care, we often focus on just the physical aspects of eating right, exercising, pampering yourself. But all those things really won't matter if you're not taking care of the emotional aspect of self-care. And a huge part of this is purging not just your physical environment, but also internally. And one of the things that I recognize is that if I am holding on to like unforgiveness, bitterness, somebody made me upset, and I'm holding on to that, that's not doing anything to me in terms of helping me. If anything, it's harming me. So I have learned that a huge part of self-care is being willing to purge and to forgive people that may have hurt me, and sometimes even forgiven myself. And just so that you can know, this is not just some random idea that I'm coming up with. There's actually a lot of medical studies that have proven that when you hold on to bitterness and you don't purge those things or unforgiveness, they can actually manifest into certain illnesses in your body. So when we're talking about self-care and we want to be the best versions of us, we don't want to hold on to negative emotions that could potentially lead to us getting ill. The video cut off, but I was pretty much done. And the way I wrapped up the session was just encouraging the moms to pick at least one of the things that was shared and to begin to implement that, and then just build from there. So I'm curious to hear from you. What do you personally do to just help to facilitate self-care? And I'll just end with this as I ended the presentation, a quote that I read on the internet, which said, "Self-care is giving those around you the best of you, not what's left of you." All right, you be blessed.